Ratton. They'll pair off to fight it out. Beat the Clock, Ratton. Beat the Clock puts his head in front. It's a second Group 1 for Beat the Clock. Purton sitting motionless, 3 in front on Beauty Generation. What a remarkable season it's been. Another incredible racing story, a second Champions Mile and a coveted crowning glory. Winbright, glorious forever. Pakistan star Winbright goes to him. Winbright is roaring away. Japan do it again.
The highlights there from FWD Champions Day from last year. On Sunday, we reconvene for the 3 Group 1s and over $60 million in prize money as well. We'll look at the 3 features on the programme. And also on today's show, a special edition of Hong Kong Direct, the past, the present and the future, if you like, with some fantastic features to look back on as well. I'm Andrew Jeune, great to have your company. I'm pleased to say I'm joined here for a preview and to analyse the meeting by Graham Cunningham and Ed Sadler. And Ed, plenty of stories to delve into, possibly none bigger or greater than Beauty Generation, 2-time Horse of the Year, looking for a three-peat in the FWD Champions Mile.
Thanks for having me on the show, Andrew. Yes, he's trying to become the first ever horse to win 3 consecutive Champions Miles. We know he's been a terrific horse. He's an 18-time winner. He's the $100 million man. Won 10 in a row, but earlier this season he suffered 4 successive defeats. We wondered whether we'd ever see him return to the winner's circle, but he's won his last 2 in a row. And I think he goes into the Champions Mile once again as the horse to beat.
We'll come back to the Champions Mile in due course, but Graham Cunningham also joining us as well. And Graham, what's the greater significance, I suppose, of this meeting on an international stage still going ahead?
Yeah, it's a great question, Andrew. We're living through a very uncertain time globally. People at home, in lockdown, they're missing big-time sports, and this gives them the opportunity to cling on to something very important. We're fortunate in Hong Kong. Hong Kong has handled the coronavirus crisis superbly well. That's why we're still racing. That's why we have 3 big Group 1s this Sunday. And people will be watching all over the world, seeing the best of Hong Kong racing and giving them something to take them out of the real world for a few hours. And that's got to be a great thing.
It certainly does. Yeah, we'll drill down into the 3 Group 1s in a moment or so, but we're going to start off the show with one of the iconic horses of Hong Kong, that is Silent Witness, who was trained by Tony Cruz, ridden by Felix Kutsi, and this horse was winning when, at a time, coincidentally, Hong Kong was in the grip of the SARS crisis as well. We can catch up with his colourful and larger-than-life owner, Archie De Silva.
Hi everybody, my name is Archie De Silva and I'm the owner of Silent Witness. I can recall very well when he first came to Hong Kong and Tony Cruz and I went to visit him in quarantine. It was quite something. Tony Cruz looked at the horse and he said, "This is a racehorse. This guy will be a champion."
Silent Witness, I'll never see anything like this again in my life. 17 straight, stand, cheer, applaud the best because he's just got better.
Everybody was down because we had the SARS period, the virus, the SARS virus. There were a lot of sick people, people who were afraid of catching disease, and the economy was down because we had, to a certain extent, a bit of a lockdown like now. Now is more, of course. And it was very sad. But fortunately, we had Silent Witness. The people of Hong Kong, the newspapers, and the people of Hong Kong, and the radios, and the television set, called him the spirit of Hong Kong. You see, they saw his tremendous fighting spirit. And this is very, very similar to the people of Hong Kong.
Silent Witness rallies. He's doing all he has to. He's a length in front. Cheerful Fortune trying very hard. But Silent Witness, think of the best. He's better.
The Hong Kong people, through my entire life, have shown this resilience. That whenever they're down, they come back up again.
He's a hot gun. 5 out of 5. We don't really know how good he is. He might be our best. Silent Witness wins by 3.
There were people on that side of the public stand and the member stand, thousands of them, wearing Silent Witness gear, flags of Silent Witness, screaming and shouting their head off for Silent Witness. And they were just very, very happy. They were waiting to see him win. I've never seen an atmosphere like that in my life, even today.
The great champion, Silent Witness, darts to the front. This is all over. He's toying with them. This is unbelievable. Silent Witness 2 in front. The world champion wins in a canter.
Silent Witness touched everybody's lives, touched my family's life, my personal life. David Price, it helped him a lot to sell more horses. It touched the trainer's life. Tony Cruz is most proud of his horse, and Felix Cruetze loves the horse like hell. And last but not least, he touched the people of Hong Kong with the spirit of Hong Kong. And I hope that Beauty Generation will do the same for the spirit of Hong Kong, that we can overcome this coronavirus and get on to normal times again.
An obvious comparison to make there with Beauty Generation, who we'll come back to in due course with the FWD Champions Mile. But a moving and touching piece, that one. Graham, great to hear from Archie, looking back on all those great memories. Yeah, a perfectly natural TV performer, Archie, and who better to tell this story. And how one horse can lift a city. It's just a horse race, and it's just a race horse. But there's something about a sporting hero that helps drag people through tough times, and I think that told the story really well. Yeah, and I know, Ed, you've spoken to Felix Cruetze in the past as well, and they're just incredible scenes. You could see them there for yourself on the racecourse with the fans hanging over the rails. Absolutely, and you could just feel Felix light up whenever you speak to him about Silent Witness and all those people involved, even speaking to Tony Cruz a few years ago about the horse. He was an absolute champion. He beat some super horses in his career, a Group 1 winner from 1,000 to 1,400 metres, and also Group 1 placed over 1,600, so he was incredible. Yeah, perfectly put, Ed. That was the great Silent Witness. We'll move on, though, and get into the main event on Sunday, the FWD QEII Cup. $25 million on the table. 7 go to post, headed by last year's runner-up and Exultant. Time Warp from barrier 4, our likely leader, Fury. Tony Cruz trains those first 3 horses, in actual fact. Eagle Way, a Group 1 regular for John Moore. Elusive State 1 and 2 in the race for Tony Millard. Player de Puente, what a run that was in the Derby. And Glorious Dragon, the second of the Millard runners. But, Graham, probably the place to start is with, well, the Cruz runners, but definitely the 1 and 2. Time Warp had his way last time, but Exultant consistency has been the key for Hong Kong champion middle distance horse and stayer as well from last season. Yeah, it's a big day for Tony Cruz. It's a big day for Exultant because this is the one missing jewel in his middle distance staying crown in Hong Kong. He's got a Vase, he's got a Gold Cup, he's got a Champions in Chater Cup. He ran a screamer in this race last year, and tactics could be an issue, but I think he's the elite, he's the cream in this race, and if he gets an even gallop to run it, I think he'll win, and I think he'll win handsomely. He'll get an even gallop for sure, Ed, because it will be Time Warp out in front, but Time Warp, it wouldn't surprise me if he won't ran first, or conversely, he actually ran last as well. He's that sort of horse, or he has been in the past. He has, definitely, Andrew. He's win or bust, isn't he? But we saw him back to winning ways last time out of the Gold Cup, where he beat Exultant. Exultant looked a little bit one pace that day. He was under pressure, coming towards the turn under the whip, coming towards the turn, and Time Warp was able to keep on finding. I just wonder, there doesn't look to be much pace opposition for him in this race. Small field, he'll go to the front. Joe Moreira is a master tactician. He might be hard to run down, so I think he can do it again. Blake Shin almost stole the Derby, Graham, and Player del Puente. Made the race as well, but can he do something like that again? Is he one of the lively outsiders? I think he is, but tactics have to go his way. He got a terrific daring ride from Shin in the Derby, and it almost stole the race. But that form alone, on the official figures, gives him a bit to find. We'll get a really good idea of how strong the Derby form is this weekend. At the moment, I'm a little bit sceptical. I know that Exultant is a genuine international Group 1 quality horse. We can't quite say the same for the likes of Player del Puente just yet. Well, speaking of derbies, we've got last year's Derby winner Fury in the field as well. And what of Tony Millard's 2 runners, Ed, as well? A word on them. Glorious Dragon and Elusive State, the all-weather performer. Well, I spoke to Tony Millard about both of his horses, Andrew, at the barrier draw earlier on, and he said that Elusive State's in great form. He was supposed to go to Dubai, of course, and run in the Godolphin Mile. That didn't happen. I think he's a better horse on the all-weather track. Glorious Dragon continues improving, and he was second to Exultant earlier on in the season in a Group 3, unlucky last time out, so I think he might be a bit of a rough hope in the race. All right, we'll stand by for the official tips coming up later in the show, but I can sort of get a feeling which way you guys are heading. We've got the FWD Champions Mile and Chairman's Sprint prize to come up in part 2 of the show. To take us off to the break, though, sport is littered and thrives on great rivalries. You've got Federer and Nadal, Ronaldo and Messi. Here in Hong Kong, we've got Purton and Moreira.
Waikuku's moved up on the outside of Beauty Generation. The champ's trying to fight, but Waikuku stamps his authority to win the Stewards Cup.
He's riding very well at the moment, and a couple of his rides recently have been outstanding. He's clearly been the difference between winning and losing, and you could take those races to any apprentice school in the world and show them.
Beauty Generation will not surrender. He fights on strongly, and Beauty Generation from Beat the Clock and 50-50.
Zach, for being the good jockey that he is, he's going to make anybody else's lives very hard in a good way. When I say he makes my life hard, that means he's pushing me to ride at my very best every race meeting. And I'm quite convinced that we are both helping each other to go as far best as we can.
Criterion in front, that military attack descending on the scene. Designs on Rome the outside, he's in for the fight. Wow, they hit the line and Designs on Rome beat him. Moreira and Purton stride for stride.
I believe he's clearly made me a better rider. There's a lot of things I've picked up through what he does. I've studied him, I've been able to watch him from a very close distance and see how he operates. And the great thing with Joao is he just doesn't make many mistakes, and he's got a lot of confidence, he backs himself, and he gets results, and at the end of the day, that's what matters.
Great battle here. Purton on Dances with Dragon. Enrichment trying to fight back. Dances with Dragon and Enrichment. And Ding Dong Go. Dances with Dragon. What a sterling battle over the final stages from our two premier jockeys.
We've both got nice rides in all 3 races, and hopefully we can be competitive.
What I can say, it's a guarantee show for the public that will be watching the races.
Welcome back to Hong Kong Direct, our special for FWD Champions Day on the weekend. Sadler and Graham Cunningham are still with me. Their thoughts in a moment. But next up for us is the FWD Champions Mile, headed by Beauty Generation, who's won this race for the last 2 years. He'll jump from barrier 5. Awkward from Waikuku from 9. Perfect for QEII Star off the inside. Southern Legend from 6. More than this out of the Derby. Back to the mile from barrier 8. Singapore Sling, Fat Turtle, and Thinking Big first. Group 1 runner. For trainer Douglas White, he'll jump from barrier 2. Before we get the thoughts of Ed and Graham, let's get some thoughts on the 2-time Horse of the Year, Beauty Generation.
Purton sitting motionless, 3 in front on Beauty Generation. What a remarkable season it's been. Another incredible racing story, a second Champions Mile and a coveted crowning glory.
He's up there with Able Friend, but he's been more durable than Able Friend. Not as versatile, but you know, you couldn't get better. Horses getting to this age, like Viva Bataka, and looking back at some of my old fellows, you know, their form has just started to peter off, and I just said to owners, you know, you've got to let them go. But this fellow has never been in that predicament. It's always been gung-ho the whole time. We know that age has caught up with him, but he's still the best here.
What more could he do, really? You know, he was a 3-time track record holder at one stage. He still holds track record over 2 distances. He's the only horse to win $100 million in prize money, 8-time Group 1 winner, dual Horse of the Year. But yeah, he's the best horse I've been associated with in my time, and certainly one that I'll miss when he's retired.
He's an interesting one. He's changed a lot over the years, actually. But he was a little bit more on the plain side when he was younger, and he was nowhere near as strong as he is now. So with maturity, he's just got more muscly, much more stronger. Behaviour can be interesting sometimes. He has got a bit of an attitude, but look, he's a lovely, big, strong-bodied horse, and they've had a fantastic time with him.
He won his races not by running really quick sectionals, but by running just fast sectionals, but over and over and over and over again. And he really tested the ability of other horses. His consistency, above all else, puts him up with the very best.
A genuine champion, beauty generation, a global star as well. Ed, Zach, touching on some of the highlights. 18 wins, over $100 million in prize money. Still the one to beat on the weekend.
He is indeed. We thought the best might have been behind him, and perhaps it is. He might not be quite as good as he once was, but for a rising 8-year-old to be winning Group 1s the way that he is, still making his own luck, still doing what he's doing, he's been a remarkable horse. And off the back of his win in the Chairman's Trophy and the failure in that race, really, or the subpar performance of Waikuku, he's easily the one to beat here in this race, Andrew.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing, I suppose, Graham, because Waikuku looked to have his measure in the early part of this season, but do you forgive that last start effort?
It's hard to just put a line through it because it wasn't just a slightly below par run, it was a dull run. But he had 11 weeks off. He should be sharper this time, but he has got a question to answer. As for beauty generation, it's a great comparison, I think, with maybe Tiger Woods or Roger Federer. The old bones may be creaking a bit. They can't monster top-class rivals anymore, but they still have the craft and the skills and the guile to win majors when the chance presents itself. And Beauty Generation is potentially, once again, the flagship horse of the weekend.
What of the others, though, Ed? More than this, particularly interesting, coming out of the Derby, so dropping in trip, but maybe a strongly run mile will be the making of him. Potentially, if they do go quickly enough. We've seen him being able to win over a mile earlier on in the season against lesser opposition than what he faces here. I don't quite think he's got the class to win it. I think it's down to Beauty Generation and Waikuku. I think they're the two winning hopes in the race. QEII Star could definitely run a placing here, but Waikuku, if he bounces back, is definitely the main rival to Beauty Generation, but they're the main two. All right, Graham, and of the rest, Ed, just mentioning QEII Star, who'd probably roll forward. We've got Rattan's very versatile. Can you sort of sum up the rest of them and any sort of chance at all? I think this is going to be a real three-way go, not just Beauty Generation and Waikuku. I think QEII Star can get in the mix. He's in great form. He's got the inside draw, natural front runner, and he's got this great story, French rider, recent import. 2 weeks ago, he was just emerging from quarantine. Now, Antoine Hamelin, with 5 winners already on the board in Hong Kong, has a great chance to shine on the biggest stage of all. So many stories waiting to be written, creeping under the radar. Don't sleep on this Hamelin angle. QEII Star should run well. Unbelievable start to his career. Winner every meeting. Again, we'll come back to the boys for their top pick for the mile in a second. Final of the Group 1s, though, is the Chairman's Sprint Prize, and they line up like this. Hot King Prawn off the inside gate. 1 of 3 in the race for John Size. Thanks forever. 2 for John Moore. Drawn wide, Mr. Stunning, 2-time winner on International Day from Barrier 7. Full of Beauty, Wishful Thinker, DB Pin. I think possibly his final start, DB Pin. Voyage Warrior, a bit of a surprise maybe in the Sprint Cup last time out. Big Party, Big Time Baby, Jolly Banner, and Athero. Plotted his copybook last time out. Heel jump from barrier number 5. So maybe he's the place to start then, Graham. Like a spoilt child, I think, to a certain extent last time out. Fell out of the gates, nothing went right. He ran last in the Sprint Cup. It's a tremendous story. He's either brilliant or he's fiery and he blows it. And last time, he got badly bumped at the stalls. He got way, way too aggressive. And he was gassed in the final furlong. But if you cast your mind back, and it is a while ago now, Andrew, to November, that runaway win in the Jockey Club Sprint where he beat every top 1,200-metre horse in town and beat them hollow, that is visually the most striking performance of the season. The question is, can the big race maestro John Moore coax him back to that form, and will his manners enable him to reproduce his best? Well, he's been back to the barrier trials and performed well. But this is, to a certain extent, it's a rerun, definitely of the Sprint Cup, Ed, in which Voyage Warrior came out on top with Athero running last. It was a great ride from Vincent Ho, but can he repeat, maybe? Well, he's an improving sort of a horse, and he's always had big raps upon him. When he won his first few races, we were touting him as a potential Hong Kong sprint contender. We know what Ricky Yu's record is like with these sprinters. You just have to think about Fairy King Prawn and also Sacred Kingdom. He was able to win controlling things from out in front last time out. I wouldn't discount him, but I'd want to see him reproduce something like that again before I consider him a genuine top chance in the race, Andrew. Worth pointing out, I suppose, that Athero is also getting £4 off the field here. One of them being Hot King Prawn, who from barrier 1, Graham, he's definitely a roll-forward horse. Wouldn't went into a speed duel, but looks to have the perfect draw for him. Yeah, I think he does. I think he should get a perfect lead into the race. I think he's the most likely winner. He's super consistent. Yes, he hasn't won a Group 1 yet, but we know he's that sort of quality. And
his reliability and his versatility. I don't think he has to lead. He can just stalk the pace. I think he's the one to beat here. He was beaten by Voyage Warrior last time. That was a very unusual race tactically. Soft pace on a wet track. Different setup this weekend. I think we know Hot King Prawn is highly likely to run pretty much up to his international mark of 120. You can't say the same about Athero given his checkered profile.
This is a great race, the Chairman's Sprint Prize, with the up-and-coming horses in Hong Kong's sprinting ranks taking on the established stars. But time to put your neck on the line, guys. Graham, you go first. Your tips for the 3 Group 1s on the weekend. OK, QE2 Cup, Exultant by Daylight. I just think he's that good. In terms of the mile, Beauty Generation and Waikuku and Kying Star. The heart says Beauty Generation. I'm going to go with him. And in terms of the sprint, I'm so excited to see Athero again, but he has had bumps in the road. So safe, solid option, Hot King Prawn to win his first Group 1.
I'm with Time Warp to land the QE2 Cup, to do it all the way in front for Joe Moreira. Beauty Generation to win a 3rd consecutive Champions Mile, and I think Athero is the most naturally talented horse lining up in the Chairman's Sprint Prize. The rest of them a fairly even bunch of horses for the most part in that race. Just cast your mind back to October after his first up defeat. Athero then came out and broke Sacred Kingdom's record over 1,000 metres. I'll give him the one blemish like last time. I think he'll be bouncing back here.
All right, the weekend looks like this. The big races, FWD Champions Day, races 5, 7 and 8, starting off with the Chairman's Sprint Prize, the FWD Champions Mile, and then the QE2 Cup to finish. And the 3 Group 1s live on the website as well, hkjc.com. That's it, gentlemen. Thanks for your time today. Ed, I hate to tell, I'm probably slightly more in Graham's camp than yours, but enjoy Sunday all the same.
It'll be a terrific day of racing, Andrew. I'll be happy to celebrate my wins with all of my mates anyway. But in all seriousness, Graham, we're in for a treat coming up on the weekend.
Absolutely right, Edward. It's top-class sport. We're lucky that Hong Kong is right at the centre of it. Beauty Generation, Athero, Exultant, all the stars are on show. Purton, Moreira, John Moore, so many subplots. It's going to be a great day.
Great stuff, guys. That's the show. Thanks for watching. Hopefully we can count on your company again on Sunday for FWD Champions Day and bring all the action from Hong Kong direct to you.